I'm sorry, yo. I'm sorry I betrayed your trust. I'm sorry I pushed you all away. I'm sorry I made a clown of myself. I apologize.
If you break into my apartment,
I wish it didn't have to be this
the
way.
law, officer.
But unfortunately, I'm breaking my own rules. No bitch niggas and shit. You know, I wasn't suicidal before. I really wasn't. But one thing I didn't realize was that the walls were closing around me so fast.
Hey guys, what's going on? It's me.
I really had no intention of killing myself, but I would always push it too far. I guess I am mentally ill. Or maybe I will. I'm not trying to put responsibility on it. I mean, I did a lot of wrong too. I did a lot of wrong. Everyone's got to pay for what they've done wrong at some point. Everyone's got to pay for their sins at some point. I guess mine caught up to me.
This video is a bit of a more dark story that I wanted to talk about in memory of the late Etika and his struggles. It was a streamer who was at the top of the game as a streamer, but the path to the top is always full of struggles as well as success. This is reopening a lot of wounds that haven't fully recovered. Etika was a beloved person, and one of my close friends remembers the struggles that he went through watching this as a fan. But I wanted to remember Etika and talk about his struggles as well as the turmoil he went through whilst breaking down in front of our own eyes. In hindsight, it was considered to be some of the over-the-top shitposting, but it turned out to be someone spiraling out of control, and the internet as a whole didn't know what to do or how to react. When this tragedy is brought to an end, all we can do is pray that Etika is in a better place. I wanted to bring awareness to this kind of turmoil social media influencers go through. Etika was not forgotten, and I want to make sure this video is a way to remember that we aren't always invincible or even in control of everything in our lives, and the best thing that we can do is to try to work hard and cope with this. His story is of a man who was broken, and he was breaking in front of our own eyes. His story is a cautionary tale of the dark side of the internet. This will include mental health and self-harm. Desmond Daniel 𝖆𝖆, the man who would later be known as Etika, was born in Brooklyn, New York on May 12, 1990, to father 𝖆𝖗 𝖆𝖆, who was a politician and lawyer from the country of Ghana, and his mother Sabrina 𝖆𝖆, who was a member of the Parliament of Ghana. Etika did have siblings, but not much is known about them. We do have some minor details about his older brother and his unfortunate passing due to having an asthma attack in the year 2010. Etika had gone to school as a normal kid, and things went well up until high school, when he was pulled out of school due to the constant fighting between Etika and the other students. But he did continue to pursue his education when he was a lot older. He went to Urban Assembly School for Law and Justice, which was a college prep school for high school that, well, you guessed it, it specialized in law. He would later graduate, and prior to his YouTube channel, he was a model and rapper during the late 2000s and early 2010s. His name, Etika, was chosen after the name of a cheat code from a Sonic game. The cheat code in question was Etika, and he would just simply switch 2 letters, and that is where the name came from. Etika initially started a YouTube channel in 2006 under the handle TR1IceMan, and he would make a second YouTube account under the handle 𝖆𝖆𝖊 Network, and it was later changed to Etika FRFX, and he would have a combined total of 800,000 subs on both Twitch and YouTube. Eventually, he found his audience when he was focusing on Nintendo games such as Smash Bros, and he was known for his over-the-top reaction, like his reaction to Mewtwo in Super Smash Bros. 4. His reaction was retweeted by Masahiro Sakurai, who is the creator of Smash Bros. Etika's channel was focused on live streaming, playthroughs, and reaction videos. With his high energy, he became pretty popular and he was seen as a local meme. A lot of his content comes from his memes and clips, which solidified him as a lighthearted person who was not afraid of making a fool of himself for entertainment. But behind the scenes, he was suffering from mental health for the longest time, and everyone was none the wiser. He was suffering for a long time, and this was unchecked for the most part as he kept quiet. The smiles and laughs during streams and his videos never showed his struggles that he was facing, and he went through depression as well as suicidal thoughts. This had reached a boiling point on October 25th of the year 2018 when he uploaded porn to his main channel, which was in direct violation of YouTube guidelines, and his channel was swiftly terminated. His social media accounts were inactive during this time, and a day later his girlfriend, Christine Alice Pika, revealed that he was sent to a mental hospital, and he was shortly released on October 29th, 2018. He would confirm that he didn't care about the channel since it wasn't doing too well, and he decided to terminate the channel. People chalked this up to being a publicity stunt that the whole internet viewed as nothing but a spectacle, and people quickly forgot about the incident. 6 months later, on April 16th of the year 2019, he would later get his second channel terminated in the same fashion when he uploaded porn. During this time, Etika's girlfriend Alice would give updates to fans about his mental health, because during this time, he was tweeting frantically, as well as threatening to commit self-harm. After an incident, Etika was talking crazy, and this concerned his girlfriend, who promptly called the police, and he was restrained by the police. 2 weeks later, he was live streaming, and during that moment, the NYPD's emergency service unit were outside of his apartment due to there being a call from someone outside his state. This is thought to have been a concerned fan. During this time, he was telling the officers that he was fine and that he didn't need help. Eventually, the officers had no choice but to call up the SWAT to break down his door, and he was taken into custody. He would later upload a video to his old channel, TR1IceMan, for the first time in years to give fans an update. During this time, the internet was divided because a lot of people had shown genuine concern for his declining health, and the other side saw this some sort of spectacle to witness. 2 days later, on the 1st of May 2019, he was sent to a mental hospital after assaulting an officer. He would stream again on May 14th, and he would explain the situation, stating that everyone is a god. He said that the officer had arrested him for flipping off the officer, but people started to question him because this isn't an isolated incident. People think that mental illness involves a person being crazy or dangerous, like the kinds of people we see in Hollywood movies, which is very far from the truth, as mental health is different from person to person. On this channel, I talk about mental health because a lot of people suffer from it, and how they handle it always varies from person to person. The mental hospitals aren't like the ones you see on TV. Not every patient is being restrained by the staff, and a lot of the time, most won't be a danger to others like we're led to believe. For a person to get better, they require a lot of attention, but they also have to actively look for help, and it is never going to be easy, as mental health is the most talked about subject, but it is also misunderstood. In a way, it is difficult to treat it, because for a person to improve their mental health, they have to want to change themselves. The best one can do is offer advice, encouragement, love, and even be there for moral support. Mental illness happens for several reasons, and to be frank, the only things we can do now is guess the kind of things Etika was going through, and he was going through a lot of stress as a streamer. But he never spoke up about it, and it just made it worse for him since he wasn't willing to admit there was anything wrong with it. And his public image was already that of a mad lad who went to extreme lengths for content, so why was this any different? That was the thought process of many, and during this time people called it fake and egged him to continue with his antics, and he went all in with the jokes, while the internet watched on with no second thought. The other half of people were begging him to seek help, and this incident caused a storm on the internet, since this was covered by everyone during this time. During this time, Etika was not alright, especially after his arrest. He would later talk with Keemstar on the Drama Alert channel. During this time, Keemstar was egging on Etika, and he was just outright bullying Etika without any care for what this could cause. I don't think that Keemstar is solely responsible for worsening Etika's mental state, but in a sense, he was a very vocal person when it came to talking about Etika. He was looking at this as if it was a joke. And yes, this is a very clout-chasing stunt, as he wasn't there to help. Keemstar seems to treat this like some sort of freak show, and it's a pretty hard thing to watch, as he kept treating this like a spectacle. Keemstar seems to not understand the severity of the situation. During the call, Keemstar was listening to Etika's rant about life being a simulation, and death means nothing, as well as calling himself the Antichrist. Clearly this was a mental breakdown, and Etika was not doing well. Keemstar suggested that there was no reason to live if things were a simulation, and this was just awful, as it was quite repulsive, as Keemstar monetized the terrible incident.
Thing about thinking that the world is a simulation and it's predestined and all that is then there's no reason to live. Why not?
Why do you fear death?
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's scary, because if you really think about it, then why live? Just jump off a cliff. If it's just a simulation, who cares?
Movie Bird Box.
This was very heartless and ignorant. Keemstar is not responsible for Etika's death, but in a sense, Keemstar's reaction during the interview was in a sense a microcosm of the internet at large. Most people are very ignorant of Etika's mental health, and they thought this was a joke of sorts, so instead of being concerned, they just kept going with it, seeing his maniac episodes as a publicity stunt. This was all a game until it wasn't. We watched him suffer until it was too late. On June 19th, 2019, would make a video titled, "I'm sorry." This video alluded to a suicide, and people saw this as a suicide note, and he went silent. No responses or updates to his post. So people called the NYPD to do a welfare check on him, and hours later, the police confirmed that Etika was missing, and an investigation had begun. For 3 days, people were concerned and on edge of their seats, hoping to hear good news or to find a YouTube video that confirmed that this was all a sick prank. On the 22nd of June, the police found a backpack that contained his belongings near the Manhattan Bridge. People became more on edge, and 2 days later, on the 24th, an unidentified body was found in the East River. After a while, everyone's worst nightmare became a reality when police confirmed that Etika's body was found at the river and he drowned after jumping off the bridge. After further analysis of his behavior, professionals concluded that he suffered from bipolar disorder, or at least he went through a maniac episode after constant stress. During this time, everyone was in disbelief over the death of Etika, and everyone gave their condolences to Etika. People like PewDiePie, KSI, and Corey X Kenshin made videos paying their respects to Etika. His website was converted into a fundraising site for the National Alliance on Mental Illness, aka NAMI, in honor of Etika. People were made aware of the danger of mental health, and there was more support for mental health charities. Etika was lost too soon due to mental health. He was a fun person who was very entertaining. His loss was a hard one. Etika was lost, but not forgotten. His story is a cautionary tale for those who neglect their own mental health. And his story isn't uncommon, as some streamers have lost due to cracking under the pressure of managing both their life and social media.